Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another weekly recap. Now, this week we've actually received a ton of information regarding future events, but we've also gotten a content update today, which is the Christmas event, as well as some changes to the new item sync from the GE tax, as well as a few potential changes there as well. We've also received a Gilenor gazette with a up-to-date roadmap for the first half of 2022. So much to cover. I hope you guys enjoy. As always, if you do, always appreciate a like in the video. Anyway, let's get started. Now, before I jump into the video, I want to thank today's sponsor, Opera GX. Opera GX is quickly becoming my favorite browser to use. It is specifically built with gamers in mind, but I think there are so many amazing features that pretty much anyone will love it. One of its most unique qualities is the sidebar. The sidebar acts as a main interface for accessing all of Opera's features. Probably one of its most functional and useful ones is something called GX Control. GX Control allows you to limit the amount of RAM or CPU that you're using, which is very handy. As you can see here, I've been playing some Ironman, and of course to do anything on an Ironman you need to open up like 15 wiki tabs, and they really have a bad habit of amassing dozens of browser tabs, kind of similar to a hoarder collecting useless junk. But that said, we can easily limit the amount of resources that this drains. And if you have an issue with your network when you're downloading a game or something, there's also a network limiter to easily manage your connection. Probably one of the most underrated features is the forced dark mode setting. Always have this on because on other browsers I would spend hours trying to get every single website meticulously turned into dark mode, but that never works out, and there's nothing worse than suddenly having the light of 1,000 suns blast my corneas because some rogue website didn't have a dark mode feature. Opera GX also allows you to connect all of your socials in one place, which I find extremely useful. You can also easily connect Twitter, WhatsApp, Facebook, and pretty much any other social. In the sidebar, there's also something called GX Player, which will allow you to connect with your favorite music app. Personally, I use Spotify, but you can also use Apple Music, SoundCloud, YouTube Music, Deezer, and Tidal. So I would highly recommend giving Opera GX a try. There's a link in the description you can click on to download it for free. Or if you're on your phone, you can also check out their mobile version to get a similar experience on your phone. So check them out, and thanks again to Opera GX for sponsoring today's video. Well, it's that time of year again, guys. We have finally received the Christmas event for 2021. The Christmas event is always a good time and brings back good memories of, playing RuneScape around Christmas time. This year, to start the event, you're going to go to Falador, to the White Knight's Castle, and talk to a squire. And who knows, perhaps you'll have a little extra special gift for whoever helps him out. Okay, so there is some new information on the item sync. Thanks to the last week's introduction of the GE tax, we've been syncing around 30 billion GP per day. So far, the majority of the gold that has been taxed has simply just been removed as a gold sync, but they're obviously still tweaking those numbers. Now with today's update, they're going to be extending the item sync to a bunch of new items, probably another 20 or 30 items here, including Zenite pieces, Ancestral, Dagonoth rings, a lot of dragon equipment, the Dragon Hunter lance, the Inquisitor's armor set, Theater of Blood items, and a few others as well. Now that the list has essentially doubled, they are considering potentially increasing the tax rate in the future, but they do note that that doesn't have to necessarily be a flat % increase. It could be, for example, an increase to only cosmetic items, so there could be a 1.5% tax on those. So it does look like they've expanded the list to a fairly nice size of items, and to cover all that, they might actually have to increase the tax in the future. Now, once again this year, Jagex is running a gigantic annual survey, so if you do have around 30 to 45 minutes to fill out some responses, you do get to have your voice heard on the big picture direction of the game. If you're just currently AFKing a skill, it could be a good time to fill it out. This is how they generally decide how to plan out roadmaps and what people are interested in and how player behavior has changed, so it does really help. It is kind of long though. Now, one really interesting little tidbit of information at the bottom here, obviously there's a few other changes, but under the other changes section, they mentioned that they've released some next related content early to make it easier for us to test. Keep your eyes peeled and get ready to face next the 5th General on January 5th. I have no idea what that is. It seems like the moderators don't want to tell us either. They're being a bit aloof about it, so it must be a bit of an Easter egg somewhere. Let me know down below if you know what that is. And that's pretty much it for all of the content changes this week. Now, just a few hours ago, we received another Gilenor Gazette for December, and in it we have a up-to-date roadmap on the future of this game in 2022. I'm really excited because there is some new stuff revealed that they haven't mentioned at all until today, as well as they've just given us some up-to-date release dates for the things we did know about. So starting off at the top here, they summarize all the content that came out in 2021. And they mentioned although we did have some great content releases this year, a lot of it was game integrity changes, back-end changes to the engine, and things that weren't necessarily new content but were good for the game. So heading into next year, they're going to be focusing primarily on new content, playable content for all types of players, and they've also changed the structure of the content developer teams. So with that all said, here's the roadmap for 2022, and right off the bat, there's a few new things on here. So yellow just indicates the general big beats of the month. That's just an overview, but every other color refers to one of the Jagex teams that's going to be working on a specific piece of content. So for example, starting off in January, one team is working on Nex, another team is working on the PvP arena, which we'll talk about in a minute, and then we have a team working on Shattered Leagues and Guardians of Gileanord, which we're going to talk about as well. So right off the bat, we know that Nex and Leagues 3 is coming in January. Those are the next main updates, but quickly after that, we have a new quest, Land of the Goblins. The Land of the Goblins is the next installment in the Cave Goblin questline, which should have a February release. So for those who played back in 2007, you might realize that this is not a new quest. This actually came out in 2007, so the era that Old School is based off of, but just a little bit after the backup was restored. So they say that after poking around in the files, we've discovered that the majority of the work for the quest is already done, and they would just have to make a few tweaks to it. Now below that, we have a purple section that's called PvP Arena. Now that is going to be the new replacement for the Duel Arena. With the Duel Arena removal happening imminently, the initial focus of this team will be on this replacement, the PvP Arena. Now they don't really elaborate more on what that is, but there is going to be some replacement, and hopefully it will be a worthy replacement. So further down we have the orange banner, which is going to be for the Shattered Leagues relic. But kind of interesting, at the very bottom here we have something called the Guardians of Gileanord. Now I believe this was initially pitched in a other Gilenor Gazette almost a year ago. This will be a new runecrafting training method and is aimed at being a fun and interactive way of training runecrafting that would fit along existing methods. Now the concept for this activity, at least back in December, is that the wizards of the Wizard Tower have such a large demand for runes that they need greater access to runecrafting altars. They attempted to create a hub that let them access all of the altars, but something went horribly wrong. All of the abyssal creatures started pouring out through the attempted portal, a rift in the fabric of the world. The wizards responded by conjuring a giant portal guardian to close the portal, as well as many smaller rift guardians to fight off the abyssal creatures. But they need your help. Now, what's notable about bringing it up again in this Gazette is they've put it on the roadmap, which means they're actually looking at developing it. Before, it was just a high-level concept with no immediate plans to put it into the game, but it does look like the Guardians of Gileanord might be coming in the first half of 2022. Now beyond that, a few other notable things on this roadmap. The Wilderness boss rework is going to be coming sometime after May, along with potentially reworking Bounty Hunter in the later half of this year. And of course, we can't forget about Raids 3, which should be coming out sometime in April or May. And that's what the first half of 2022 is looking like so far. I would say quite a bit of content, and that's only half the year, so looking pretty good. Now at the bottom of the Gazette, there's a section on ideation. And now for those that don't know, ideation days are simply kind of days off, but you have to work for them, obviously, where you get to try to conceptualize new ideas for the game. Instead of working on, a current project or something that has a deadline, kind of just your own time to try to come up with something cool. Now this is actually kind of important because a lot of really notable content has come from these ideation days, such as the Tombs of Amasket, Raids 3, the Nightmare of Ashihama, Darkmire, the Hallowed Sepulchre, Below Ice Mountain, and quite a few other things as well. So down below they have a few pitches for ideation ideas, and it's not at all unlikely that some of these might actually come to the game. So with that said, I just want to briefly cover what some of these pitches are because I think some of them are actually pretty cool. So one idea is Fairy Tales 3 Among Thieves. So this will be a follow-up to the Fairy Tales questline, you'd actually be able to unlock new fairy rings as well as an update to the magic secateurs. I love farming, so I would be all down for that. Next up here we have the Guild of Shadows. This would essentially be a thieving guild where you'd get thieving based contracts. For example, you might be asked to infiltrate an area to destroy some supplies or to plant incriminating documents. Completing contracts would earn you reputation, which you could exchange for experience. We have the tourist attraction idea, which would essentially involve you helping out Hadley, the tourist guide. Essentially, you'd be building some new tourist attractions to attract people to Gilenor. These would be stuff like building rock climbing walls near the Backstorian Falls, or just other frameworks to add in smaller additional training methods. Next up here we have Solfus, which is a tortoise skilling boss designed for 1 to 3 players. This boss would be focused on hunter and woodcutting, but you'd also use farming and construction to build traps. Beating the boss would offer the chance of grabbing new rewards, including new ranged ammo, new farming equipment, and of course, a new pet. So those are 4 somewhat fleshed out ideas, but at the very bottom here, we have a somewhat more fleshed out idea, a new quest called the Pilgrimage to the Sands. Now this would be a Western themed quest, which would be added to the desert region. This quest would end with you having an all-out brawl and shootout with the bandits. This quest will reward you potentially with new types of darts, but the rewards are still pending. Now the design for a heated showdown has been finished and pitched, so who knows, we potentially might get a Western style shootout quest in the desert in 2022. So anyway guys, that is it for the weekly recap. A lot of new ideas were pitched today, and I'm really excited to see how these materialize next year. Let me know about all of the ideation ideas. Really curious to know which ones you like the most, or if you like any of them. Thanks for watching as always guys, and I will see you next time. Now before I go here, I want to give a giant thank you to all of my members over on YouTube. Thank you so much to Alejandra, Sejuani's Flail, Ocelot, and Kush Patel for all being subscribed at the Dragon tier. Thank you so much as always guys. Also a giant thank you to Sir Rojas, Ryan Shady, Mexos, Basetitch, NDM001, and YoYoSub89 for all being subscribed at the Runite tier. Appreciate it guys. As always, if you are looking for another way to support the channel, becoming a YouTube member is a great way to support me directly. You'll get immortalized in all of my future videos, get a custom role in my Discord server, and you get access to my video release schedule as well. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.